The valet's words hit me like a freight train. "Your wife left with another man about an hour ago, sir." I stood frozen in the hotel lobby, still dressed in my work clothes, gripping the anniversary bouquet I had rushed across town to deliver. 24 red roses, her favorite. The valet, a young guy barely out of his teens, shifted uncomfortably. I thought you should know. They got into a black Mercedes. He had his hand on her back. They were laughing. My phone felt unusually heavy in my pocket. I pulled it out and opened our message thread. Her last text, sent 3 hours earlier, read, "Girls spa night. Don't wait up. Love you." I stood there, surrounded by polished marble and soft lighting, flowers in one hand and my phone in the other, and felt something inside me sharpen into absolute clarity. Not anger, not heartbreak, precision, calculation. I typed a single sentence, "Enjoy your last night in my house." Hit send, then I walked out of the hotel, got into my truck, and made 3 calls that would change everything. If you want to know what happens when a woman cheats on a man who owns everything she thinks is hers, hit subscribe, because what I did in the next 48 hours didn't just end a marriage, it rewrote the ending. My name is Nathan Cross. I'm 39 years old, and I've spent the last 15 years building a life in Denver, Colorado. I'm a commercial real estate developer, not the glamorous kind you see on television. I don't build glass towers or luxury penthouses. I build strip centers, medical offices, storage facilities, the practical projects that quietly generate real profit. I started with a single property in 2009, right after the crash, when everyone else was running from the market. I bought a distressed shopping plaza in Aurora for $400,000, renovated it, leased it out, and sold it 3 years later for $1.2 million. That profit funded 2 more properties, then 4, then 8. By 35, I owned 17 commercial sites across the Denver metro area. Combined value, roughly $47 million. Annual net income around $3.2 million. And my wife Vanessa never knew the full extent of it. Let me rewind. I met Vanessa 8 years ago at a charity event. She was a pharmaceutical sales representative, confident, striking, effortlessly social. I was there because I donated to the organization, something related to a children's hospital. She approached me at the bar and said, "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else." I laughed. That obvious? Only to someone who feels the same way. We talked for 2 hours straight. She was intelligent, witty, driven. She said she was tired of dating men intimidated by successful women. I told her I was tired of dating women who cared more about what I could buy than who I was. "So what do you do?" she asked. "Real estate," I answered. "Small properties, nothing flashy." It wasn't untrue, it just wasn't complete. We dated for a year, married in 2017, and I never revealed the full picture. Wealth changes dynamics. Not necessarily the person who has it, but the people around them. I learned that lesson early. When I made my first million, I was dating a woman named Ashley. The moment she found out, everything shifted. Bigger expectations, more demands, designer labels. It stopped being about us and became about access. So when Vanessa entered my life, I decided to keep my finances private. Not hidden, private. I told her I owned several properties and was comfortable. I drove a normal truck, lived in a nice but modest house in Highlands Ranch, avoided luxury signals. For a while, it worked. Vanessa earned well, around $140,000 a year. She paid for her car, her wardrobe, her personal expenses. I handled the mortgage, utilities, groceries. Vacations were shared. It felt balanced. She never pressed for details about my finances, and I never volunteered them. Over time, however, subtle shifts appeared. Casual comparisons. My friend Karen's husband bought her a Tesla. Why don't we ever travel somewhere special? I saw a beautiful bag at Nordstrom, only $3,000. She said it lightly, but the longing was visible. She wanted the lifestyle she assumed I was capable of providing, and quietly resented that I didn't. The truth was, I could have purchased 10 Teslas without noticing the expense, but I wanted to know if she valued me without the display. Eventually, I got my answer. The affair began about 6 months ago. At first, I missed it. I was focused on a major property acquisition, managing tenants, overseeing construction timelines. But the indicators were there. Late evenings, unexplained dinners, a new fragrance, different clothes, more effort invested in appearance that wasn't directed towards me. His name was Garrett Hale. I discovered it by accident. She asked me to pick up her dry cleaning. When I grabbed the bag, a receipt slipped out. It wasn't from a cleaner. It was from a hotel, the Crawford, downtown Denver, $450 a night. The date matched a supposed sales conference. I stood in that parking lot staring at the receipt, feeling the foundation of my life shift. I didn't confront her. Instead, I hired a private investigator. Marcus, former police officer, efficient, direct. I need everything, I told him. Identity, timeline, locations. 2 weeks later, he delivered a folder filled with photos, records, timestamps. Vanessa and Garrett entering hotels together, laughing at restaurants, holding hands. Garrett Hale, 34, investment banker, drove a black Mercedes S-Class. Flashy, polished, expensive, or at least the image of it. Marcus even pulled financial data. High income, higher liabilities. He looked wealthy. He wasn't. But Vanessa saw the surface and believed she was upgrading. I sat in my office that night with the folder open and realized I felt calm. Not devastated, not shattered, just certain. She didn't love me. She loved what she thought I should be, and she believed she had found that elsewhere. Fine, but before she left, she would understand exactly what she was abandoning. For 3 weeks I prepared, not emotionally, but legally. I called my attorney, Richard Moss. I need everything insulated, I told him. All properties were already held in LLCs established before the marriage, separate legal entities, premarital assets. Vanessa had never been listed on any company documentation, no ownership claims. But the house posed a potential issue, purchased during the marriage, marital property. I smiled. What if the house was never mine personally? I explained the restructure. Ownership transferred to a holding company, lease agreement established at market rate, vehicles leased through corporate accounts, furniture and artwork company-owned. On paper, Vanessa possessed nothing. She simply didn't know it yet. I gave Marcus one final instruction. I need real-time updates, not confrontation, timing. The call came Thursday evening. She was at the Crawford, checked in 20 minutes earlier, room 1847. I left my meeting immediately, stopped at a florist, purchased 24 red roses. No card. I would deliver them myself. I arrived at the hotel at 7:30 p.m., still in jeans, boots, flannel, out of place among polished marble and soft lighting. I approached the valet and asked if he'd seen Vanessa cross. His expression told me everything before he spoke. Then came the words that clarified everything. I stood there quietly, acknowledged him, checked her last message, and sent mine. Then I walked out. I didn't go home. I went to my office and called Richard. "It's time," I said. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." "Okay, I'll file first thing in the morning." Next, I called my property manager, Linda. "I need you to change the locks on the Highlands Range property tonight. 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 And I need you to document everything inside. Photos, inventory, the works." "Nathan, what's going on?" "I'm protecting my assets." She didn't ask questions. "I'll have a crew there in an hour." Finally, I called Marcus. "I need you to serve her tomorrow morning at her office." "You want her served at work?" "I want her to understand this isn't a negotiation. Consider it done." I sat in my office until midnight, staring at my phone. Vanessa hadn't responded to my text. She was probably with him, laughing, celebrating, thinking she'd gotten away with it. At 12:47 a.m., my phone finally buzzed. "Vanessa, what are you talking about?" I didn't respond. 3 minutes later, "Nathan, answer me then. This isn't funny. Then I'm coming home." I typed one word, "Don't." She called. I didn't answer. She called again and again. I turned off my phone and went to sleep on the couch in my office. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. The next morning, I was up at 6 a.m., showered at the gym, grabbed coffee, drove to a property site. At 9:15 a.m., Marcus texted me a photo. Vanessa, standing in the lobby of her office building holding a manila envelope. Her face was pale, shocked. The caption, "Delivered." I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I put my phone away and got back to work. She called 47 times that day. I didn't answer. She texted, "We need to talk. This is insane. You can't just lock me out of my own house. I have rights. Nathan, please." I responded once at 5 p.m. All communication goes through my attorney, Richard Moss. His number is on the papers. That was it. By the end of the week, Vanessa had hired a lawyer. Her name was Sharon Kellerman. Aggressive, expensive, known for taking men to the cleaners in divorce court. She sent Richard a letter demanding immediate access to the house, the cars, financial records, threatening sanctions if I didn't comply. Richard called me. "She's coming in hot." Let her. "Nathan, she's going to argue that you're hiding assets, that the LLCs are a sham, that you're trying to defraud her. Can she prove it?" "No, but she can make noise." "Let her make noise," I said. "I've got paperwork going back 8 years. Everything's clean." "Okay, but be ready. This is going to get ugly." It already is. The first hearing was 2 weeks later. Temporary orders. Who gets what while the divorce is pending? Vanessa wanted the house, her car, and $10,000 a month in temporary support. I sat across from her in the courtroom. She wouldn't look at me. Sharon stood up. "Your Honor, my client has been locked out of her home with no notice, no access to her belongings, and no financial support." The judge, a woman in her 60s named Patricia Ortiz, looked at me. "Mr. Cross?" Richard stood. "Your Honor, the property in question is not owned by Mr. Cross. It's owned by Cross Holdings, LLC, a company established in 2014. Mr. Cross is a tenant." Sharon scoffed. "That's absurd. He's trying to hide assets." "I'm not hiding anything," Richard interrupted. "I'm clarifying ownership. The LLC owns the property. Mr. Cross pays rent. Mrs. Cross was a guest." Judge Ortiz frowned. "Mrs. Cross never signed a lease?" "No, Your Honor." "Did she contribute to the mortgage?" "There is no mortgage, Your Honor. The property was purchased outright by the LLC." Sharon jumped in. "Your Honor, this is clearly a sham designed to—" "Do you have evidence it's a sham?" the judge asked. Well, because if the LLC was established before the marriage and Mrs. Cross never held an ownership stake, then it's not a marital asset." Sharon's face tightened. "We'll be filing discovery requests." "You're welcome to," Judge Ortiz said, "but until you can prove otherwise, Mr. Cross is under no obligation to provide access to a property he doesn't own." She turned to me. "Mr. Cross, where is Mrs. Cross currently residing?" "I believe she's staying with a friend, Your Honor." "And her vehicle, also owned by the LLC?" "It's been returned to the company." Vanessa's head snapped up. "You took my car?" "It wasn't your car," I said calmly. Judge Ortiz banged her gavel. "Enough. Mrs. Cross, you'll need to make your own living arrangements. Mr. Cross, you'll provide a list of Mrs. Cross's personal belongings. She'll have supervised access to retrieve them." "Your Honor," Sharon started. "That's my ruling. Next case." Outside the courtroom, Vanessa cornered me. "You bastard. You're really gonna do this?" "Do what?" I asked. "Protect what's mine?" "I'm your wife." "You were my wife," I corrected. "Now you're just someone who made a choice." "I made a mistake." "You made a choice," I repeated. "You chose him. You chose hotels and lies and thinking I wasn't enough." Her eyes filled with tears. "Nathan, please, we can fix this." "No," I said, "we can't." I walked away. Behind me, I heard her sob. I didn't look back. Over the next 3 months, Sharon tried everything. She subpoenaed my business records. Richard provided them. Every LLC, every property, every transaction, all clean, all legal, all premarital or kept separate. She argued that I'd commingled funds. Richard showed that I'd kept meticulous records. every personal expense paid from personal accounts, every business expense from business accounts. She tried to claim I'd used marital funds to grow the business. Richard showed that the business had grown through reinvestment of its own profits. She demanded a forensic accountant. The accountant confirmed everything Richard had said. At every turn, Sharon hit a wall, because I'd built those walls carefully, deliberately, not to hurt Vanessa, to protect what I'd built. 4 months after I filed, we were back in court. Final hearing. Sharon made one last push. "Your Honor, my client has been married to Mr. Cross for 8 years. She supported him emotionally, maintained their home, contributed to their life together. She deserves compensation." Judge Ortiz looked at me. "Mr. Cross." Richard stood. "Your Honor, Mrs. Cross earned $140,000 annually during the marriage. She maintained her own career, her own finances. She was never dependent on Mr. Cross. She lived in his house." "She lived in a house owned by his company," Richard corrected, "rent-free as a courtesy. She drove a car he provided. A company car assigned as a benefit." Sharon's voice rose. "Your Honor, he's playing games." "I'm following the law," Richard said calmly. "Mrs. Cross is entitled to half of the marital assets, but Mr. Cross's business is not a marital asset." Judge Ortiz reviewed the file, flipped through pages, sighed. "I agree," she said finally. Sharon's face fell. "Mrs. Cross is entitled to half of the joint accounts, which total approximately $40,000. She's entitled to her personal belongings, her retirement account, and her vehicle, which she'll need to purchase or lease independently." She looked at Vanessa. "Mrs. Cross, I understand you're disappointed, but the law is clear. Assets established before the marriage, kept separate during the marriage, are not subject to division." Vanessa's voice was small. "That's it?" "That's it." The gavel fell. Outside, Vanessa stood on the courthouse steps, looking lost. I walked past her. Stopped. "For what it's worth," I said, "I would have given you everything if you'd just been honest." She looked up at me, mascara streaked. "I didn't know." "You didn't ask," I said. "You just assumed I wasn't enough." I handed her an envelope. "What's this?" "A check, $50,000. It's not required, it's not part of the settlement, it's just so you can get on your feet." She stared at it. "Why?" "Because I'm not doing this to destroy you. I'm doing it to protect myself." I walked away. That was the last time I saw her. 6 months later, I sold one of my properties for $8 million, used the profit to buy a penthouse in downtown Denver. Floor-to-ceiling windows, view of the mountains. I didn't buy it to show off. I bought it because I finally could, because I wasn't hiding anymore. I started dating again. Slowly, carefully. I met a woman named Claire. She's a teacher, makes $52,000 a year. She drives a Honda, clips coupons, thinks $100 dinners are extravagant. On our third date, I told her the truth. "I need you to know something," I said. "I'm financially comfortable." She laughed. "Comfortable? What does that mean?" "It means I own some properties. I do okay." "How okay?" I took a breath. "Very okay." She studied my face. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I don't want secrets." She nodded slowly. "Okay. Does it change who you are?" "No." "Then it doesn't change how I see you." We've been together a year now. She still doesn't know the exact number, and she's never asked, because she loves me, not my portfolio. As for Vanessa, I heard through mutual friends that she and Garrett broke up 3 months after the divorce. Turns out, his lifestyle was funded by credit cards and loans. When the bills came due, the Mercedes got repossessed, the fancy dinner stopped. The illusion shattered. She's working now. Same job, same salary, but she's starting over, alone. I don't take pleasure in that, but I don't regret it either. Here's what I learned. You can't build a life with someone who doesn't see your value. You can't love someone into respecting you, and you can't protect yourself after the damage is done. You have to build the walls before the storm. I built mine carefully, legally, quietly, not because I expected betrayal, because I respected what I'd built too much to leave it unprotected. When Vanessa walked out of that hotel with another man, she thought she was walking towards something better. She didn't realize she was walking away from everything. If this story hit home, comment, "I built walls." If you've ever been underestimated, if you've ever protected what you built, if you've ever watched someone realize too late what they lost, this one's for you. Hit subscribe for more stories about the quiet power of preparation, because the best revenge isn't showing them what they lost.